to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller. My co-host, well, on the 28th of April, 2022, it was announced that rather than renewing his contract, James Corden would leave the Late Late Talk Show in 2023. This started rumours and speculations about who or what would replace him. Two outside bets are these gravy-soaked boys that love Sheffield Wednesday and apparently only ever interview family members. One of those said gravy boys is my friend and fellow host, Dr. Luke Gledall. How are you doing today, Luke?
I'm doing well. What odds can one get on?
It's pretty long odds. But you're in the race, 2,000 to 1 at this point in time.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I think that's the bookmakers saying, well, we'll happily take your money.
He's just, exactly, yeah.
You know.
Hey, if you're stupid, we're here.
Yeah.
Is what the bookies are saying.
I mean, especially for a North American lens, it's like we can't give you a receipt for a tax donation, for a charitable donation, but, you know.
I think that was Corbett Bookmakers' slogan for a little while, wasn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
If you're stupid, we're here.
We're here. Got dumb, got monies. You're in luck. Ladbrokes.
Ladbrokes. And then you get old Ray Winston.
Oh, dab.
If you've got more money than sense, we'll take it all. Not your sense. There's none of that, but your money.
Hey, dammy. Want to be separated with your readies?
I've got a little geeky axe that I grind just quietly in my head about Bet365, in that their current advert says that they when they started, they wanted to be X, Y, and Z, and one of the things that they wanted to do is have the best app. Now, they started, I think, 5 years before the iPhone came out. So it's quite prescient of them to be thinking about being a phone app before that was even a twinkle in Steve Jobs' eye. But
how do you see this being used? People would go to their nearest park and stare into a pond and it would appear. Oh, that's interesting.
They'll go to a phone booth, pick up the phone and bash numbers in at random.
1-800 call Ray.
I will find your monster and I will take your bit. Oh, so Luke, we're in part 2 of the interview specials.
Exactly. We've talked about the giants of the betting world. Now it's over to the giants of the interview world.
Move over, Parky, you old husk.
You boys on the block.
Terry Wogan, I don't think so. It's the Gravy Boys. Thank you very much.
You best change those Facebook algorithms to have Graham Norton clips come up. You're going to have the...
Graham Norton. Graham Norton, more like Graham Norton.
I don't get it. Anyway, so part 2 of the Different Gravy Summer Interview Series. And it's another corker. And Rich, you're chatting with your sister Suz, who, you know, I see used to sit next to yourself and Suz as well. Yeah. So it's nice. It's nice to get more of an insight of her Wednesdaydom.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the plan. And yeah, so some of those memories do absolutely intertwine and include a little Luke Gledall before his accent took on some slight North American twangs.
Before I went all Frasier, like right before I went all transatlantic.
Yes, exactly.
Rich and Suz remembered me before I went to Juilliard, basically.
But you do enunciate so beautifully now, which I think it's still been worthwhile. But yeah, let's let's not tarry, and let's get on with the interview. Well, welcome to the second part of the Different Gravy interview sessions. I think that's what Luke sort of styled us as at the beginning of his interview last week. So this is Richard Miller of Different Gravy sitting down with the oft-mentioned sort of something of a third wheel in the podcast terms, my younger sister, Susie, or Suz, or Suzanne Miller. How are you doing today, Suz?
I'm good, yes, thank you. A bit nervous, but it'll be fine.
Well, it's lovely to have you on the pod. As we touched on, you know, you're my sort of cohort. You sit next to me at games, so you...
Yeah, you steal lots of things I say at games and pass it off as your own.
Exactly. Yeah, well, that's. I think naturally we can't help ourselves sort of talking through games, can we? And I may have borrowed the occasional.
You do give me credit most of the time, to be fair.
Yeah, it's not theft if I say I'm stealing it. That's what I like to think.
Very true.
So, season ticket holder for many a year.
Yes.
Still fighting the good fight. Mm-hmm. But how did your Wednesday journey start?
That's your fault. Unlike lots of people that were either born into a team, I wasn't really. Like our family coming from Scotland, a bit more Rangers with the team, and then when we were down in England, that changed. But I had good taste when I started supporting football, so I actually liked the invincible Arsenal team. They were a very beautiful team, and they were actually really good at football. And then as I got a bit more into it, because I was a bit late coming to the football party, I remember Wrexham, we were in the same league as Wrexham at the time, League One.
Yes.
And they would be our local team at this stage. And it was like, well, you like football so much, and I've been to see Man City Arsenal in the FA Cup. And it was like, do you want to go watch a Wednesday game? And we sat in the home fans of the Wrexham game, a game that we ended up winning. And then that was it. I thought, well, that's it. This is obviously going to be the team I support. And I picked a good season for it because it was the promotion season. Yeah. So yeah, that was a high point, I think, of my Wednesday fan journey. We've not had many of them. But yeah, definitely it was your fault that I got into it, because you know, before that I would have just been supporting a very beautiful, very good team.
And very successful.
Very successful.
Yeah. And possibly we've both won about the same amount of things. I think Arsenal maybe have picked up the odd FA Cup, whatever that counts for. But trophy-wise, it may be in this very similar journey, although there's been some ups and downs in the Wednesday one to keep things interesting.
I don't want to say I've cursed a team, but ever since I took a shine into Arsenal, they've not had the most successful time.
So just to kind of put us time-wise, for context, some people will know absolutely being in the same league as Wrexham kind of puts it in a timeline, but we would have seen, what sticks in my memory from that game was enjoying the good company, but also a wonderful free kick from Chris Brunt.
Yes.
And that was our promotion season under Paul Sturrock. Yeah. What a great manager he was. Maybe we'll get to talk about him in a little bit.
Yes. Sneak preview. He plays a big part in my Wednesday life.
Okay, well, that's nice to know how it all began. So just to kind of let's sort of mosey along a little bit and move on to your sort of favourite Wednesday 11, and could you talk me through maybe why you've chosen the formation you've chosen as well, and then
I found this a bit difficult, mainly because, and I've said this to Rich as I was kind of writing it, haven't really seen that many great players play for Wednesday. So a lot of mine are more sentimental than anything else. And I did have a moment where I thought I could change the formation. I've gone for 4-4-2.
Okay.
And I then realised we actually don't have that many good defenders. And so I'm glad I didn't go for any 3 at the back, 5 at the back, any of that, because I wouldn't have been able to do that. But we do have quite a lot of very good midfielders. Midfielders is a part that we have done really well. So I did struggle to narrow that down. So I've got a lot of honourable mentions.
Well, that's good. I think last week the interview opened up the possibility of naming alternates. So I think you're all right. You're on strong footing there.
That's good. I'll start from the easiest one. Scot Carson as my goalkeeper. I did not hesitate with that one. The second I was asked my opening 11, that was the first name that came to my head. Yes, because he was brilliant. And yeah, just loved him. He was. I think we went through a little patch, and this is probably we went through a little patch where we had amazing goalkeepers, and whether that was Andy Rhodes as the coach or what that was, we loaned really well. We got people in, we had Kirkland and Weaver and all of that come after that, and I still think the Kirkland's Everything Hurts.
Yes,
it still gets passed down.
His time wasting method of feeling every sinew in his
just have to check the feet are still on
before he gets up. Yeah, a true masterclass in time wasting, Chris Kirkland. But yeah, that positive impact that Scot Carson had on that team, because we got the promotion in your first season, but then we didn't really spend to put together a championship team, did we?
No.
So it was a hard slog.
Yes, putting it nicely.
And Scot Carson arriving, just the defence looked better. We were able to play higher up the pitch.
I think it's the closest you've seen a knight in shining armour in modern day.
I've still got a huge amount of affection for him. I think it's a real shame he didn't play more often for England, really. Yeah,
he had that one game where he just had an absolute howler, pretty much, and then that was it. Everybody wrote him off, and he was fantastic. To be so good in such a terrible team tells you everything you need to know about him.
Well, he sort of acted, he was like sweeper and keeper, wasn't he? It's the first time I'd really seen that sweeper keeper sort of.
He didn't have a choice. I think it's the first time he'd seen it. Had to do it.
Oh, great! So, what a good start.
Yeah.
Scot Carson.
I'll go for my right back next.
Okay.
And this one, actually, I did struggle with. It, funnily enough, is the only position that I think we've done very well with in the past. So we've had the likes of, Hunt there.
Yeah.
I love Frank Simic.
Yes.
He was there, but Lewis Buxton is my pick for right back, because I think he's the only person I've ever seen being given a corner out of sympathy by an official. We asked so much of him. It's a trend that's carried on from Lewis Buxton.
Yes.
Hunt had such a hard legacy to live up to, because it's basically like, oh, that's all yours. You've got the whole side of that pitch. No, midfielders are going to go and help the left. Not going to help you.
Yeah.
You can just do what you want, and we still do that. But he was just fantastic. Just seemed like a really lovely guy as well. And yeah, I was sad when I know he had to leave because he was getting old, but I was sad when he went.
Yeah.
We did manage to replace him with somebody good, which is nice.
Yes. Yeah. I think as well, it's nice with Buxton. I think we were on board with Buxton maybe a bit ahead of the general fan base, because he had a bit of a rough time his first season, maybe his first season or two, and then people started sort of turning the corner on him. But yeah, great, so good at so many things.
Yeah,
as well.
And still even now, there's times where at games I shout, "Unlucky Bucky," or something like that, and I'm like, no, it's Hunt. It's not. Or it's Liam Palmer. It's not Buxton anymore, and it is purely because some of their play is so like what he used to do, the great stuff that he used to do, that I forget it's not him.
Did he start as a centre back, and then he sort of really took up the right back mantle really strongly. But I also remember he competed well in the air. He wasn't the tallest, but he got goals. With his head as well.
And everybody, I think, thought because he was short, they were just going to be able to drop a ball over his head.
Yeah.
So he was very good at defensive headers as well.
Yeah.
Which some people that have gone into that position have been less good.
Yes. Then Hunt's probably one of them.
Yeah.
He's good at lots of things, but that's not one of his strong suits.
And I like going back to like Francemek that was there as well. Yes. I just remember the April Fools when the club did an April Fools about Francemek about joining an NFL team as a kicker. And it was one of them where it's like, it's kind of believable.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Spending the summer as a kicker.
And then it was like, they needed to clarify afterwards that actually that wasn't true. He wasn't going to do that.
Oh, that's very good. I mean, it doesn't even work, does it? Because that's not when the NFL season is, but maybe it was less entwined with our lives at that point.
I think so, yeah.
And obviously with Simek, a great player picked up from Arsenal, which maybe would have fed into your...
part of the reason I instantly loved him.
But his goal he got against Millwall, that just... In terms of singularly important moments in a season, I mean, you're away from home at Millwall, which is always a bear pit.
Mm-hmm. Always awful.
The keeper, that was when... I think it was just when Lucas was just breaking almost every game. Mm-hmm. I believe it was that period of time. And so we end up with Bullen in goal.
Yeah.
Not because of a sending off, but because of an injury, and because Sturrock didn't always name a goalkeeper on the bench.
I still agree with him on this. It is quite often a wasted substitution.
It's nearly always a wasted substitution.
I feel like that's why, Chelsea have a habit of changing their goalkeeper in finals because it just feels like, I've bought him. Brought him along to all of these important games. He has to play something, so go on, you can go do the penalty kicks.
Do the penalties, Bullen in goal, and she's just thinking, okay, we're gonna get relegated. This is because we're cheek and jowl with Millwall, weren't we?
Yeah.
And then they thought they'd scored. We're celebrating. Bullen lumps it up the pitch, and in the scramble, Simek bowls it over the line.
Yeah.
The joys.
One of the more confusing commentary segments to listen to, because I remember sitting in your room listening to that and just being like, what's going on?
Yes.
It's like, I can hear some crowds like it was that weird noise between their crowd, our commentators trying to shout over their crowd, and then silence from them as they realised what was happening, and then the little delay of the Wednesday fans going mental.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, that's probably, I don't know whether people that would be interested in this or not, but pre iFollow and IPTV, our half of our sort of Wednesday following life would be listening to the Radio Sheffield commentary. Usually in my room, and then kind of running around celebrating or commiserating.
Having the Sporting Life up to date table there at a important game. It was always, we were always going to get relegated. Nearly. Yeah. It was I think in my whole time of being a Wednesday fan, there's been very few seasons where we haven't either been in a relegation battle, thought we might make the top 5.
Yeah.
And promotion, I think we've probably only had like 2 or 3 just safe mid-tables.
Yeah.
We can chill.
And you wouldn't have it any other way, really. Come on.
No, that's true.
Who wants a boring mid-table finish?
Yeah, and who really wants to support a team that you're just never going to win every week? Like, where's the fun in that? How'd you keep the passion going?
Yeah. Okay, I think we've covered right back.
We have, okay. For my first centre-back, I've gone for Glenn Loovens.
Nice.
Now, the reason I've gone for him is we had a really rocky patch of centre-backs.
Yeah.
And I just remember him I think in my memory I have a lot of these almost coming in with like halos over them.
Yes.
It's like just a beam of light that comes down from the heavens, like, I'm your saviour. Because we had the things of like trying to get Michael Morris, and like he was meant to be the big scary bully.
Yeah.
And all of these didn't work out. And Pearce and people like that.
Yeah.
They, as much as I liked him kneeing there, Taylor, yeah. As much as I like him kneeing the ball back to the goalkeeper so that all of the other fans go mental, and you're like, it's safe, it's safe. I do remember Leuven's coming in and being like, oh, that just feels safe. And I was kind of saying, it's quite hard for me really not to just put Carlos's and a couple of players from this time into the top 11, because they're probably the best football teams I've watched in a Wednesday shirt.
Which is absolutely fair. I mean, it's I've got vague memories of that kind of tail end of the sort of Premier League years, but the most football I've watched, the best football I've watched, has been probably Carlos, and then maybe a point last season. Leuven's just so classy.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I wonder if he would have saved Dave Jones's job if he'd arrived, because he came because of Dave Jones.
Yes.
That was pre-arranged, wasn't it? Because he played for Dave Jones at Cardiff. And I wonder if he would have saved Dave Jones's job, or whether Dave Jones just didn't care at that point. But it's just one of those interesting. We talk quite often on the podcast about sliding doors moments, and that's one of them. Like, I wonder what might have been if, because Stuart Gray was a really good for like pound for pound, and I mean that in kind of spending terms. He got so much out of so little. Yeah. But we wouldn't have had that if Jones hadn't got sacked.
That's true. And I do remember because I actually lived in Sheffield at the time with Gray. I remember the money coming in, everyone being like, oh, it's such a shame that Gray didn't get a chance to spend all this money. That feeling, I think, must have been the shortest felt as a fan base, because Carlos was just like, oh no, right. Well, we all love him now.
Because Gray by name, Gray by nature, the football was not fun under Stuart Gray, and I think that win, that 3-2 win against Bristol City on the opening game of the season, it was like, well, we've really not seen a game of football like this for quite some time.
For me, it was kind of like, so this is what football's meant to look like. I'm used to teams doing that against us, not us.
Who's partnering Glenn then?
This one I struggled with a little bit, because I'll be honest, I feel like I had to put Hutchinson in my team somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that.
He doesn't get into the midfield.
Okay.
Lots of great players don't get into the midfield.
Yeah.
But then I feel like I've not seen a better partnership as Leuven's and Lee's.
Yeah.
What would Leuven's and Iorfa have looked like?
Oof.
That's that too classy.
I think Leuven's would still be that oil on the water, calm head. Yeah, no, that'd be a good partnership.
So I think for genuine how to watch, it has to be Leuven's and Iorfa. But I should give it to Sam Hutchinson because he has been a great servant for the club for whatever issues he may have had. He's been fantastic, and he's always worn his heart on his sleeve.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna go for Hutchinson, but with a little asterisk. If I was actually watching the team, I would want it to be Iorfa.
Yeah. Good stuff.
And then for my left back, I've gone for Reeder Johnson, because how could you go for anybody else?
Yeah.
The Bambi on ice. Elbow and knees everywhere, but absolutely brilliant.
Oh.
Yeah. And you just love him.
Yeah.
I wish we could just have found some way to unage him so he could just come back forever.
Yeah.
The goal scoring, the enthusiasm, the smile.
Yeah.
Yeah, loved watching Reader Johnson play for us, and I love how much he still loves the club.
Yes.
That's what's great.
Yeah.
I think we've got and maybe, I don't follow any other team the same way.
Of course.
I unfortunately live with a Liverpool fan, and, they think that players talk about them long after they're gone and all this. I'm like, but you played in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Like, they played at the top of the game with you. They saw Champions League finals.
Yeah.
To have played in Championship in League One and to still talk so glowing about a team, I think is quite special. So the way I think Reader and a few of them, like Padil and stuff like that, try every excuse to come back or shoehorn their way into a celebration.
Was there any consideration for Padil?
Yes, right now, because I'd forgotten about him. Because along with Scott Carson, the only other name that I was like, definitely, is Reader Johnson.
Yeah.
But no, Padil was great. To be fair, that first season of Padil was just insane. He was so good.
But Reader, I mean everybody, I'm sure everybody loved Reader. I think maybe many quite rightly questioned on a kind of technical level.
Oh, he was,
what was going on with him? But for heart and character and sheer desire, like, I've never seen anyone that wanted to win a ball more in a box than Reader Johnson. Yeah.
And we've missed that.
Woe betide you if you got between him and his
regardless of what colour shirt you are wearing.
Yes, exactly.
There was times I saw Dunkley had some of that desire.
Yes.
He did. He would take 3 or 4 people out to get that ball. But Reader Johnson, he would do the same in their box. And some of the tackles, sometimes I think maybe just officials liked him as well. Because there's sometimes you're like, I don't know how he's legally got that ball. But he's running down the wing with it, so
he's got it. The one that sticks in my mind was, it was a team wearing red and a bit of white, which is a lot of teams.
Yeah.
I think I nearly always say Bristol City when that happens.
In my head, I thought Bristol City as well.
But it might have been Swindon. But the right winger was sort of getting our charge down our wing, and Reader was like side by side with him and just launched his enormous body at him foot first, and somehow came away with the ball. And you're like, I'm pretty sure he probably fouled him 6 times before he touched that football. But I think, everybody was just like, oh, well, fair dues. Who's going to argue with him?
I feel like he's another one of them that, like, as a player playing against him, you just felt his presence the second he was there. Yeah. So, like, Iorfa seems to just sweep in. And they think, they're like, I'm setting up for this shot. And then all of a sudden the ball's gone and Iorfa's there and he's got it. Whereas I feel like the earth must have shuddered when Reader Johnson was coming towards you. Because he wasn't the most graceful player.
No.
So you knew he was there.
You sort of see his shadow and feel the cold in his shadow just before he pounced.
The panic setting of, like, the attackers coming. I don't know from what angle or with which part of his body.
Oh, good stuff. Okay, so we're 4-4-2, so that's the defence.
Yeah. For my right wing, I've gone for Mikel Antonio. How could you not?
Yeah.
My little person that would be on the subs bench, I guess, is Ross Wallace.
Oh, yes.
Because...
nice choice.
Yeah, that is a position that we have been quite lucky with. We've had some great wingers in our time. And for my promotion season, it's obviously like JP McGovern and people like that as well. But I had to go with Mikel Antonio. And I am fully a West Ham fan at the minute. If he is on the pitch. Him and David Moyes. I like David Moyes, but him. I just love him, and I love that he started to get the credit he deserves.
Absolutely,
because that man single-handedly saved us and got us promoted and did all of the things. If he could have played in goal as well as scoring the goal, he would have.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, what West Ham are doing, what Dave Jones did at Sheffield Wednesday, they're just kind of going, you have pace, strength, bags of energy, skill, and a rasping shot. So you are the attack.
Yes. So we'll get it to you. You run and do everything else.
Give everyone else a position in our half of the pitch, and then In their half, it's you, Mikkel. We're going to send you there, and you do everything, please.
Please don't get injured.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, yeah, it was. There's some players where I think we're in a position at Wednesday in the kind of league structure where occasionally we're just going to be a part of a player's journey, and sometimes you begrudge them that because it's like maybe they had ideas above their station, and then you kind of have the schadenfreude of watching them fail. But there's others who you're just like, oh, you're just far too good for this level, and it's been a joy to watch you do what you do for a period of time, and now it's going to be lovely to watch you soar.
Yeah, and he's one of them that I genuinely get excited sitting watching that game, going, he used to play for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he's one of them. It's just like there was no stopping him. We couldn't have held on to him. There was no annoyance of him going because he'd done everything for us for seasons. He'd been amazing. And now, you get to watch him single-handedly basically drag up a team that were relegation fodder and now we're pushing for Europe.
Yes.
It's just great to watch him do it. I think if his career had panned out differently, he probably would have been at even a bigger club.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just fantastic, and it is one of them. I think I'll always have that bit of I got to watch him play football live.
Yeah.
And that was great.
And he gave us some great moments in that, particularly the promotion year up from League One. And, the goal against Carlisle and the goal against Wycombe to kind of round things out.
Yeah.
Great player. And another one, speaking about Scott Carson not getting the England caps, he probably should have. It's a real shame Antonio never got to play for England.
Yeah, he's changed
he got
to
called
Jamaica
up,
now,
and
he's
which maybe he should have done sooner.
Yeah, but he should he would have fitted in well in England as well if he played for a more glamorous team. He would have got it definitely.
Okay.
Midfield, I'll be honest, centre midfield is one I really struggled with, because we've had some great players there.
Yeah.
I originally went for Glenn Whelan and Barry Bannon.
Okay.
And
that would be a good
duo. I loved Glenn Whelan. Glenn Whelan was one of my first. He was in the first team. He was fantastic. He's
the number
another
6 shirt. I remember.
Yes, I had a Whelan shirt. I loved him. I didn't like how the people behind us in the North Stand used to shout his name. But I loved everything about him. I loved the little bit about the fact that when he got a yellow card, you never knew whether that was going to make his game and he was going to be absolutely outstanding or he was going to get sent off. I like a little bit of, unpredictability from my players. So I was like, that is my team. And then I was thinking about it and I was like, but then Semedo. Just for this, he was just amazing. Yeah. He was, he really felt like the fans' person on the pitch. Yeah. A bit like Barry Bannon has this season. Yeah. All the passion, everything was through Semedo. And it was just a great song.
It was. It was such a good song.
We did ruin him by having Semedo Day. It was like Jones at the time, wasn't it? Yeah. Got offended that he was such a big star and stopped playing him. But it was great. And I think for the connection that felt, Semedo had to be. So I'm very sorry to Mr. Glenn Whelan, but Semedo is going to be making a bit of man midfield. Okay. So it is going to be Semedo and Barry Bannon.
Okay. Which is an even better combination.
And then sometimes I'm just going to, do some wacky formation where we only have one up front and Kieran Lee's going to be in there as well. Because the Iceman, Kieran Lee, was just brilliant. I swear, I don't know what happened. It was like he just woke up one day and was like, do you know what? I'm going to score loads of 90-plus minute winners.
Yeah.
like I've been doing it all my life.
Well, we used to, because he was so good at popping up in those situations, but no good at finishing for a long time. Because we used to have our little saying of "Why always Lee?"
Why always Lee? Yeah,
which was based on Mario Balotelli's "Why always me" thing. But then he turned that around. He switched it up on us and started popping them in.
Yeah, I know.
And such good goals. And Semedo, absolutely loved Semedo.
Yeah.
Underrated footballer. I think it was harsh. He got kind of thrown. He got tarnished with this, like, he's a destroyer. He's not very good with the ball. But in League One, he was good with the ball. He stroked it around in the midfield. And I know Championship is different. And I know actually early doors he got caught out in possession in the Championship. But I think that it was like, I don't want to say like fake news because that's a stupid thing, but it was almost like this kind of like this kind of like perception took hold, which I'd never felt really matched up to the reality.
Yeah. And then I think the fans got nervous when he was on the ball in certain situations, which fed into him, and it became like a vicious cycle where almost he started to believe he wasn't good with the ball, and like would panic pass it, and it was like, But he did play with some absolutely terrible midfielders.
He absolutely did,
and and he was great. I really liked Semedo. He was one of them that was very sad to. Again, like all players, you have to admit that they get old and can't do it anymore. Yeah,
definitely.
But he was one of those that was like, if we could forever just clone you, and have you coming through, that would be great.
And then we shouldn't let the other two go without mention. So Glenn Whelan, another one that we were a step on a wider journey. He played pretty much the rest of his career at Premiership level, and did all right there. He seemed to become a different player, I think, over time.
Yes, got an older head on his shoulders.
More of a kind of destroyer type of role than less of the creative that we
saw.
Because he kind of did a bit of everything for Wednesday.
I feel like it's a common theme that for Wednesday, particularly at the start of me watching it, all of our players had to be a bit of everything. You couldn't just be good at one thing. So Whelan wouldn't have worked if he was just a destroyer for us, because there wasn't really anybody to take on, like Rocastle and people. Yeah. Like, there wasn't anybody to take on that step, and we had Folly at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
He was quicker running backwards than he was forwards. But he had to kind of take the mantle in midfield and do the attacking, because if he didn't, it would have just been a great tackle and then they pick up the ball. So he had to do everything.
He's a good striker with the ball, though. He would sort of hit it very true and flat. His
volleys, were always a brilliant technique.
From the Man City academy, wasn't he? But probably before Man City were the behemoth that they now are. Yeah, probably wasn't quite the prestigious place it became.
Yes, definitely.
And then Barry Bannon. What more can we say?
Just fantastic, Mr. Baz. He's great, isn't he? Another one of those. I know we've got him at the opposite. We've got him at the end of his career. But he's one that I think I'll go down and being like, I can't believe I watched him play. It says something that he's so short and still has played elite football, because that isn't how it works usually. No. That tells you how skillful the man is. That he can, be shorter than me, and played in the Premier League and things like that. But he's so passionate, so fantastic. He's hard not to criticise at times, because he does everything so amazingly that when you're talking about match performances, he has his own scale. Yes. So it's like everybody else is on this normal scale, and then there's a Barry Bannon scale.
He's graded on the Barry Bannon scale. Yeah.
And because he missed a couple of passes, you're like, he didn't have a great game. But he's just fantastic. I love how much, I think, as fans, you always love it when players seem like they are part of your team. Yeah. And the fact that he just is so passionate about the club as well. That makes it a great thing. It'll be a crying shame he'll never play in the Premier League for us. But he's just, what more can you say about Barry Bannon? We're very lucky to have him. Yeah. It's great watching people try and mark him out for game, because he always gets a moment.
Yes.
Always gets one.
No, it's funny what you say about grading him on a scale, because there's been so many times on the podcast where we're like, Banner didn't have that great of a game, and then we're like, well, he did get 2 assists. It's just like greatness is a given, which really says a lot about him and how fantastic he is, pretty much all of the time, which is it's a very rare trait for somebody as skillful and special as he is to also turn up all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not cheating by looking at your notes, but I can see that maybe at left wing we have someone that maybe didn't turn up quite so often.
No. But when he did, man alive, it was great.
Oh yeah.
So it has to be Chris Brunt.
Yes.
It can't be anybody else. The greatest striker of the ball I think I've ever seen in person.
Yeah.
He is fantastic. Just, Sturrock had that, he used to say he plays like David Beckham, but sometimes you don't know if you're getting him or his wife.
Yes.
Which, don't know how great that saying was, but, it was true. You sometimes didn't know what Brunt you would get, but you also would have a Brunt that had been terrible all game and then score 40. The odd screamer. I also think he turned up as a very young man who'd not played much football, and I do think by the second season in the Championship, he was not that. He was turning up every week. He was. And if you think about it, so I started 2004, 2005 was my first season. So he's playing for us then. Yeah. And he only retired this summer.
Yeah, I think so.
Or the summer before. So that's putting it, that's a long career. It shows you how young he was when we had him. And I think he's one of those players. I know he's only really played for us and West Brom. But the way West Brom fans talk about him is the same way we talk about him. Because he was their saviour as well. He was just fantastic. And I just love there was that one season, I think it was the second season in the Championship, that we were so terrible at scoring goals, he just decided to start scoring from the corners.
Yes.
It just put him in. It was like, if somebody gets a touch off it, that's fine. He would just ping things off people's faces to make sure we scored. Absolutely fantastic. And I do remember thinking there was a few goals that he scored that if he was in the Premier League, you would always see those goals. They would never stop showing them on Sky. They were insane.
Well, just on a pure strike of the ball level, that goal against Coventry, and I think he scored another goal in that game as well. Yeah. Maybe skipping ahead to another one. But that was...
Well, I've put a question mark because I wasn't sure what the team was, so you've just answered that.
Fair enough. But maybe we'll come to that later then. Let's leave that sitting. But yeah, I loved Chris Brunt, and again, great to see him go on, and we made a profit. Someone signed on a free, sold for I believe £1 million at the time.
Big money for us then.
Yeah, or was it 3 million for him and then 1.5 million for Whelan? I can't remember if it was $1 million for him. I think it was maybe 3 million.
Yeah.
So it was huge help to the finances. Did a great job for us while he was here. Gone on to great things. He captained West Brom lots of times. He's captained this country, Northern Ireland, lots of times. Fantastic player. Just to have been a part of his journey, but lovely to see what he did in a Wednesday shirt. Okay, so these are the guys sort of lining things up, supplying the bullets, but who's shooting the guns?
My first one is Steve McLean. Because McLean for me is, I think, maybe the only 20-goal season striker I have seen at Sheffield Wednesday. And I'll forever love him for the moment in the playoff final where he hadn't kicked a football for how many months? He'd broken his foot, hadn't he? Yeah. And he came back and he stood up and took a penalty. It was an awful penalty, but it went in. Yeah. Somehow went in. The footballing gods deemed that it was going to go in.
Just because I know some people will be thinking this, I'm not going to double check because we're not doing that today. But maybe Mella got 20. Did he just? Anyway. Potentially. Let's put it out there.
Yeah,
so to save the tweets.
Did. Yes.
And emails.
Did.
Yeah. possibly.
I did
but
also
still,
caveat it with I think.
I think, yes. but McLean definitely got that 20th goal.
And did it in the playoff final with a absolutely terrible penalty.
Now I'm intrigued. I've never asked you this before, and it's just popped into my head. So that day,
yes,
we had a strange day.
Yes, putting it lightly.
The playoff final with Hartlepool, because I was working for the Welsh Development Agency at that time, and we had. So I was actually working that day. We had invited folks to the WDA's box, which was on the halfway line, which was spectacular. It's absolutely the best view in the Millennium Stadium, which is great. And at the time when we got because you had to kind of put in for that.
Yeah.
The WDA had all these dates. They had the box, so you had all the dates, and we put in for this one, which was probably not that fancied by folks, the League One playoff final. Who wants to do that? But that's the one we got. And at the time, there was absolutely no prospect. I think it was kind of pre-Sturrock, maybe even, coming in. There was no prospect of Wednesday really being in that. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. And then it got closer and closer. I was like, oh, we're going to have to deal with this. This is going to happen. So we were faced with... We don't live in Sheffield. We live in. You were living in North Wales. I was living in Swansea at the time. We're seeing crowds of people outside Hillsborough getting their tickets. There was no kind of online element. It was just go and get your ticket. So you couldn't sit in the Wednesday. So when I'm working,
I'm sitting
you had to be there.
Fans. Yeah.
So, but in the end, Hartlepool, because they've got a much smaller fan base, they were selling tickets online. So Suz and my good friend John, who was nice enough to...
Bless him, he sat through some terrible football, accompanying me to games.
Although he's a bit of a good luck charm, he's never seen Wednesday lose.
Why has he not got a season ticket?
I know, exactly. We need to give him a season ticket. He's a Man United fan himself, so he does. So he's got terrible taste. He does lack taste, but did the lovely job of taking you to the match in amongst the Hartlepool fans. Now I remember, so where we were, I think there was enough. I think probably most of the boxes were Wednesday.
Yeah.
Supporting folks. I know Tommy Craig, the
Corrie star.
the former Corrie star, was sort of a box or two down from us. So I remember there being a palpable sense of excitement when we saw the team sheet and saw that McLean was on the bench. Now, how was that sat in? Did Hartlepool react? Did the Hartlepool fans react? Or was there enough Wednesday fans in the Hartlepool end?
I think at the time there was mutterings of the fact that he was there. And I remember it was very much like whispering behind my hand to Johnny, giving him all the stats about the fact that he's on 19 goals this season. It's been insane, but he's been injured. And there was mutterings, and at the time it was it almost felt nervous from the Hartlepool fans.
Yeah.
But then after we scored the final goal and the Hartlepool fans started to leave, I then now realise that probably most of that chat was Wednesday fans, because there was quite a lot of Wednesday fans where I was sat.
So there was a buzz, but for the same reasons, the same excited reasons. Yeah. Oh, no, loved McLean. I mean, I think it tells a tale that he's another one that's very recently retired, I believe. He may even still be playing, but still bagging goals. He's scoring more than 10 goals a season, and he is basically immobile at this point.
He was nearly immobile for us.
Yeah, he was never a big mover, but that's where I think goal scoring is as specialised as a position as goalkeeper.
He was the one where I remember you saying he's a fox in a box.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I don't know what that means. And having seen plenty of strikers afterwards, I get what that 100% means, because he just knew where the goal was.
Yeah.
You got it to him in the box and you 100% knew.
Yeah.
That's him, he's going to be...
He's going to find a way to get a shot off, and it's not going to be straight at the keeper.
Yeah, 100%.
Because that's half the battle. So many shots miss the target or go straight at the keeper, and if you can do the in between, then you're going to get loads of goals.
It's amazing. It's quite a big goal.
It's a really, really big goal.
Goalkeepers are quite small, really.
Yeah.
And we always seem to find them.
Yeah. No, he was so good at just scoring goals. I think he may have probably scored like one from outside the box. He really wasn't. He didn't hit he wasn't someone who struck the ball with tremendous pace. He's strong enough to kind of hold people off, but didn't have much about him kind of physicality wise. But it was all about he could read where the ball was going to bounce, where it was going to go, get there. And he would get it. He'd get it on target. I think that was the Jordan Rhodes thing as well. I mean, we didn't see much of that in a Wednesday shirt, but when you look at Jordan Rhodes' career, I'm sure a huge amount of what got him to where he was he just hit the target.
Yeah,
it's really. I know it sounds stupid, but I think people overthink things and they over aim and things like that. And miss the target so often. It's like, hit the target, hit it as hard as you can. And goalkeepers are simply not that good when you don't hit it straight at them.
Yeah. Well, also, it's like, you save it with your hand. We've all had things hit you, and it's like, it's not the strongest part of your body.
No.
If they're lucky, they get their body behind it. If they don't, you've all got to do is just hit it hard enough that part of their body isn't good enough to save it.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, no, for him, there wasn't, for that part, there was nobody else who was really going to put in.
Yeah.
The next striker was a bit more difficult.
Okay.
And I've gone for Gary Hooper.
Good song again. Great
song. And part of me, I think, is I've got a theme that I just really like the songs.
Yeah, that's a good theme.
And, I think he was probably the closest I've seen to just pure scoring ability.
Yeah.
The amount of his goals were just, he was there when somebody had a shot from outside the box.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was great. I put a little note for like Stephen Fletcher in there because I think Fletcher was just a fantastic footballer.
Yeah.
And again, another one that you go down, you can join in a lot of chats and be like, yeah, but he played for us.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he was fantastic. And he did everything. I think I'm harsh on Fletcher maybe picking Hooper, but I've gone for Hooper.
Yeah, okay. And I think another one, we didn't talk particularly about Ross Wallace, but another one where, yes, we kind of got them at the tail end of their career, but there was still a lot of juice in their berry there. And they very, very fine players and getting some real joy out of them late on in life.
Yeah, and I feel... I don't blame Fletcher for leaving when he did, but I feel like that's taken a little bit of a time because it was the season. It was the season after that it all went downhill, and it's like, well, there were so many times that season where it was like, if we'd had Fletcher,
there's also
it could have been different. It could have been that.
And I think the other thing with Fletcher that kind of tarnishes things is it's hard to shake the idea that he sort of diddled the club a bit.
Yeah,
because it was the end of that COVID season, and he signed up for the extra games, which others didn't, and then went off injured within about 10 minutes of the first one of those games. So he bought himself another 3 weeks' pay, probably, whatever it was.
And there was times with Fletcher, there's a couple of times with Fletcher where it's like, it was great seeing the passion, but he would do something stupid and injure himself. And then you're like, well, now we don't have our striker for X amount of weeks.
Yeah.
And stuff. So there was a few different decisions. I know Hooper wasn't always fit, but he always scored goals when he was on.
That's an exaggeration, but
yeah. But yeah, it's a bit like Bannon chasing that ball in the last game of the season. You're like, that does, I can't take anything off
it's
on him.
It's the passion that drives him.
Yeah, he still played, which I don't think Fletcher would have.
Yeah.
But whether he should have is a different matter.
Yeah.
And then I've got...
You've got some honourable mentions.
I've got some honourable mentions that I've dotted in anyway through them. I have to say, though, for the strikers, Nuhiu for me.
Yeah.
I just loved Nuhiu. And he is the one player... we got to say bye to Kieran Lee.
Yeah.
We got to say bye to Sam Hutchinson in the end. He is the one player that I just invite him back.
Yeah.
Let us say bye to him.
Yeah.
He was great, and I loved the confidence of him. I remember there was one interview where he was like, we keep signing strikers, but I keep starting.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, yeah, of course you do. And there's so many times I thought, wish we still had New You.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just for that, something different.
No, good, a lovely honourable mention. Yeah, loved Ati New You.
Yeah, I can't do a really team, and I know I've not put him in there, but without mentioning Mr. Lee Bullen. My first captain.
Yeah.
Just
That's
played...
like the Queen with my first Prime Minister.
Yeah. Played every position for us, as we talked about.
Yeah.
Goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Kept a clean sheet at goalkeeper.
Yes, yeah.
Just the passion of the man. He was great. Loved him.
Yeah.
There was everything about him. He wasn't that skilled as a footballer, but...
And now we're all fans of his new team.
Definitely. Got him a goal flash. My score updates for Air United.
Yes.
And all that. Which are they're the honest men, is that
I think so, yeah.
Something like
Which
that,
is
isn't
very
it?
Bullen.
Which, I just, for a second I heard that, I was like, of course.
Yeah.
Of course that's Bullen. JJ.
Yeah.
How can you mention a team without JJ? Just fantastic. Another one of them. You didn't know where that ball was going to bounce off his head or his foot. But always wanted to be a part of it.
Oh, absolutely. There's something to be said for like that sort of player that can... Well, I think it was on the very first episode of Different Gravy. There was a talk about a mouse in a bucket.
Yeah.
You don't know what it's going to... I mean, I sort of think, like, you know what a mouse in a bucket's going to do? It's going to just run round and round in a bucket. But with JJ, there's just something exciting about... Yes, in your heart of hearts, statistically, he's more likely to scuff it along the floor.
Or send it out of the stadium.
Send it into Rose Ed. But... one of these times he's going to just beam it into the top corner and he'll beat a man or two on the way.
Yeah. He'll always beat a man or two on the way.
Yeah.
That was the hard thing. You couldn't help but stand up when JJ got the ball.
Yeah.
Because you're like, he's going to do something. He's at least going to beat a man.
Definitely.
But, yeah, this end product, sometimes he was lucky enough to hit it off a player and then it went in. But yeah, no, the excitement of JJ on those leap days.
Yeah. That's how you keep a goalkeeper guessing. If you don't even know where it's going to go, how's he guessing?
That's true.
I think probably, I'm not sure that we've particularly asked this question, but I think probably Luke's favourite player, JJ.
Yeah, I can see why.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, loved him. And then another person I've mentioned here, and I just genuinely think this is for the song, Teal. I love Teal's song. I also loved he was a class footballer and all that. It was about this age where I was starting to be able to go out and all this, and I remember a video coming of him, and he was very drunk in a club at a urinal, just singing his own song, and I thought, how can you not love the man?
And that was that Teal will tear... Yeah.
Teal will tear you apart.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, he's always had a soft spot in my heart ever since. Can't even remember how good he was on the football pitch, I just remember that.
It's fun that you've picked him because I think he was a bit of a kind of figure of ire because he was driving a Bentley at that time. So Wednesday were in this terrible trudge and he was like living it up, singing his own song at some of the finest urinals in town.
Yeah. Very funny. And just for one that's pure excitement and didn't even really play for us for that long, Kenwyne Jones.
Oh,
yeah.
What a boy.
Remember, because smartphones were like a newish thing. I remember watching videos of him on YouTube walking down the front in Real or something like that in the absolute freezing rain, being so excited to see this man play for us. And he was great.
Yeah.
He was great. He was one of them that we always talked about maybe he'll be signing for us. We knew he never would. Like, he was far too good.
I know.
And we were in League One at the time. I think we were in the Championship.
No, it was that promotion season.
It was.
That was Sturrock, because Sturrock had come from... He'd been sacked by Southampton.
That was it, yeah.
I think he got 8 games or something like that. It was a really bruising experience because he'd done so well at Plymouth. He'd kind of built his side, and then local. You know, he's a manager making noise locally. So I think from Southampton's point of view, that's why they kind of probably took a chance on him. But they didn't give him any any time really, and I don't think they gave him any budget. So they, they got rid of him really quickly, and we were lucky enough to pick him up. But he knew about Kenwyn from the youth team, and he was fantastic for us. But only a month. He scored 6 goals in that month, though.
And he's stuck in my mind for how many years now?
That's
a scary amount of years. But yeah, no, absolutely fantastic. And I've picked my manager. I don't think I was asked this, but I picked my manager anyway. And I've picked Paul Sturrock. Okay. Loved him. Yeah. Absolutely loved everything about him. I remember doing an English speech about Paul Sturrock. That's how much I loved him.
I loved Paul Sturrock.
And I remember because it was Mourinho's first season.
Yes.
And I remember there being the chants about who needs Mourinho. We've got Paul
Sturrock.
And I've always loved that. And I just loved, I think, the honesty of him.
Yeah.
And
sometimes brutal.
Brutal. Yeah, absolutely brutal. Yeah, and even now you hear him being interviewed when they have those flashbacks of the playoffs, and it's like, he's still brutal. He's so damning about it. He's like, I don't know how we did it with that group of players. They were terrible. Like, I've heard him say that to their faces. But he was so great. I just loved Paul Sturrock. And he was... I think it used to be a thing, there's not so much of it now, but there used to be a thing where they talked about like managers being specialists of getting out of certain leagues. Yeah. And Paul Sturrock was a specialist of getting out of League One. He just knew how to do it.
Yeah, he knew that. He knew that league. He knew the cheat code to that league.
Yeah, and he did it in such a short space of time for us. Oh yeah. Like you were saying, we came out of nowhere to get into those playoffs. Like he just knew what he was going to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was brilliant. So he's my favourite. I can't not mention Carlos, obviously. Yeah. Most exciting football I've ever watched. And I sit in hope that more is going to be the centre. Added to that, yeah.
To your list in time.
Maybe overtake both of them. Who knows?
So that's your best 11 and honourable mentions. Mm-hmm. We've touched on the fact that you've happened to be a Wednesday fan during an almost exclusively miserable period of time. So is it worth running us through some of the folks who get dishonourable mentions and some of the worst players you've maybe seen?
Yeah, when I was making my teams, there was more and more that I was going, well, definitely can't be them. Definitely can't be them. So yeah, I suppose, and we specialise quite well in strikers. Terrible strikers has been our forte over the years. I think the only football player I've ever seen turn up drunk to a football match in Adam Proudlock.
Yes.
Who, he had moments of class.
He did.
But could also fail to trap a ball for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
He was also sometimes partnered with Lee Peacock, who did a great impression of a tree.
He did.
As he stood offside for the whole game. And I loved it again. I remember it was just one of those times where I genuinely thought, started watching football, that trying hard was one of the best things you could do. Because that was all you got about Lee Peacock.
Yes.
4 years. He tries really hard.
He did try hard.
Yeah. But had an uncanny ability to stand offside like no one else. I feel like I've been a bit harsh. I put in the same one as that James Quinn.
Okay.
Now, I feel like, on reflection, that is harsh because that man could pass a ball with his chest better than anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He just wasn't as skilled with any other part of his body.
Had an extra foot in his chest and maybe not so good feet.
Yeah.
On his feet.
But yeah, and then Francis Jeffers, I feel like he's been mentioned quite a few times. The hope. And the possibility. Yeah. What if? 100%. And I know it sounds daft as like, obviously as a fan, you always want players to do well. But I've never wanted a player to do so well as I wanted Francis Jeffers to do. Just begging for one goal. Just for him. Yeah. Just for himself.
I think we spent actual money on Francis Jeffers. That's
terrible.
I mean, it would have been a bad
bet
as a free, but we spent money. What little money we had.
And I remember the excitement. He'd come from Arsenal. You know, look at the pedigree that he comes from.
Yeah.
Just
terrible.
One of the worst people I've ever seen pull on a Wednesday shirt.
Yeah.
And following on from that, Clinton Morrison was another.
Yep.
Another one. Again, I love him. I love how much he talked. You know, I don't think he was very happy when he was there. But he talks about the club very nicely when he's on TV.
Very warmly.
Yeah, he's always the one that's wheeled out for that. But yeah, he was another one. So excited because of the name. We had a little, I think you and Luke have talked about it quite a few times, that we had a tendency to buy old people and hope we got the last bit of juice out of them. He was classic of that.
Yeah, that ilk.
And again, for me, Jordan Rhodes going on the strikers.
Yeah.
And it almost makes it worse that he scored for them at Huddersfield in the playoffs this season. Because where was any of that?
It's so. I mean, if he's, I don't think he's been famous enough, but maybe he's had enough kind of notoriety. But I would really like to read his autobiography when it comes to Wednesday and what happened, because we did get those glimmers.
Yeah.
The hat-trick against Forest, but by and large, woeful.
Yeah, he was an absolute powerhouse for Huddersfield.
And
then, who knows? I wonder, he's probably more likely than an autobiography as you'll hear him on Under the Cosh or something like that.
Yeah.
And they'll talk about it. A funny one for that is Jay Bufroy. He's quite often mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
As in such a negative light on that podcast. And I can see why. Because he was
another
terror.
awful.
And he just spat his dummy out. Yeah. Didn't he wasn't great at all. And then I think my other one that I'm definitely going to have to mention is Darren Potter.
Yeah.
That's been one of my worst because
Crabman.
Yeah, but do you remember that first?
Oh yeah, the loan spell.
First loan spell. It's a free kick in there and like, oh my word, we have signed one of the best players ever. This is going to be amazing. And then he never passed the ball forward for his whole time.
Yeah. Great stats, but really tedious to watch.
It's those things. It's one of those things that maybe sometimes when Hutch was having a bad day in midfield, he played the same way as Potter. It always goes back. It never that look forward. And he was meant to be the creative one. You know, when you've got the likes of like Giles Coke and people in there with you. You know, we needed somebody to pass it forward.
Oh, definitely. I've got a weird memory which I don't know that I've talked about on the podcast, but one time I was catching an early morning flight to Dublin, so I was at Liverpool Airport, and before me in the check-in desk for EasyJet was Darren Potter in his full MK Dons kit, including socks, no shoes.
Wow.
I presume it's some sort of stag do type thing, but it was just so surreal. Really bizarre. Yeah. Because he was like skidding around in his socks. I don't know what was going on. It was really, really strange.
That is weird, yeah. And you just had like no explanation.
No. And I mean, maybe if I'd had my wits about me, I would have like asked for a picture or something. But it just you just like I was so taken aback. That was.
And I think he's the one. I'll touch on this, I suppose, going forward a little bit. But there's sometimes you see Wednesday players in everyday life.
Yes.
And you think, to me, I know who you are, but nobody else here does.
No.
And especially one of those, in Sheffield, obviously, more people, the proportion of people that are going to know who they are. There was one time when I lived in Sheffield, I nearly ran over Knew You and that group running to Nando's on Thistle Road because they just ran out in front of the car.
Everybody loves a cheeky Nando's.
Yeah. And so with them, it's like, I get it, maybe they don't get people coming up to them as much because they're used to seeing them in certain things. But yeah, when you see them out of the context of Sheffield,
Yeah.
it's very bizarre.
Yes.
And you think, nobody else here knows. Nobody knows who you are. Maybe it would make their day if you went up and spoke to them, but also it's a bit like, wouldn't know what to say to you anyway.
Yeah. Is there any more for the Rogues Gallery there?
I think, well, the one other I've got on there that has to be is Abdi.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has to be mentioned. There's a few more on there, but I've decided I'm not going to be as harsh.
You're going to be positive, rather.
Yeah, Abdi, another one of them. Sometimes we saw moments as well.
Again, yeah, absolutely. Like, and maybe against Forest. Did he score a wonder goal against Forest?
I think so, yeah.
So that's something about Forest. Knackered old Wednesday players will turn up against Forest and nobody else.
Maybe there's a part in their brain that remembers they used to be good.
Yeah, maybe.
It's like, they're a big name. I'll do well against them.
There's pictures of European Cups around this ground. Maybe if I score a good goal. Okay, well, thank you for that. So, looking back at sort of Wednesday memories, I think we sort of stumbled a little bit on this, talking about one Chrissy Brunt. But what are your top 3 sort of goals maybe you've seen in person?
Yeah, so one of I haven't ranked them in any number order, but one of them was Chris Brunt's goal against. Now, like I say in my notes, I had a question mark, but I now know it was Coventry. He did it twice though.
Yes.
And it was one of those things where it's like, oh no, it wasn't a fluke.
It wasn't a fluke, yeah.
And I remember, I think it's in the same season or near the same season as Steven Gerrard did one against Luton in the FA Cup, and everybody lost their minds. And I remember just thinking, Brunt's was better.
It was.
It was so much better. But yeah, he, again, just a fantastic goal. One of those special moments to be there for. And I have taken this as ones I've actually seen in person.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then another one I've put is Ross Wallace against Brighton.
Yeah.
Playoff fight, semi-final.
It's a great goal.
Great goal. And I loved it because that was at the time that Forestieri was doing the hands on the head celebration because one of his wonder goals had been disallowed.
Yes.
And so his hands on his head pointing to a linesman and things like that. But it was quite fun because I watched a lot of Wallace's goals and I realised so many of Wallace's goals were him just peeling off in the box.
Yeah.
We haven't had a player like that does that.
No.
Really. Hunt finds himself in that position mainly because we just leave him on his own.
Yes.
So he's getting used to it a bit more. But yeah, Ross Wallace has scored so many great goals for us.
Yeah.
And so many, we've had some absolute screamers. I suppose, to be fair, and then I was going to say my top, but then there was Antonio, that promotion season. That was great. But I would say, my top goal has to be Drew Talbot, Cardiff playoff final.
Yeah.
For such a young lad to have done that was just great. And I know we technically already won it by that point, so the pressure is off. But I've got Drew Talbot / Glenn Whelan, because Whelan's obviously, his goal was
that was so good as well.
It was what turned the tide, and it was a great goal. Talking about how good he is at striking the ball, that just sailed in. It was beautiful. But Drew Talbot.
It's the presence of mind, isn't it? It's going around the keeper and then slotting it home. And another guy, I mean, he never worked out really. I think injuries-wise, never really worked out for him at Wednesday, but had a good career.
Mm-hmm.
I think he ended up playing right back for Chesterfield mainly, which was strange for somebody who seemed to have kind of an unerring ability to score goals when in his youth.
And I just thought, again, talking about like fan reaction and everything, a player that it sounded like you were totally booing.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love that a little bit?
Yeah, that's always a fun little game to play as the crowd.
See a lot of away fans getting confused, like, why are they booing him already?
Yeah.
But no, so I think, I've snuck a fourth goal in there, but they would be my top goals, definitely.
Nice. Okay, lovely stuff. And then sort of best games then? Because it's obviously more goals than games. just about. Apart from maybe that Stuart Gray season.
I feel like this season's made up for it.
Yeah. This has been the recompense.
Which has been a strange feeling.
It really has.
It's been a feeling this season of going, I know the stats say this, but it doesn't. That's not my lived experience of what is going on. But yeah, I would say so. One of my top games has to be Brighton. The home leg against Brighton is a crowd I've never really experienced at Hillsborough before. To actually standing in the Kop and feeling the stand move with you was fun and terrifying. And we could see the floodlights moving on the ground. I know like Lee's and people talked about it afterwards, but that must have been an insane atmosphere to play in. And it was so loud.
Yeah.
From start to finish, it was just so loud. Yeah. And, so Brighton were immense that season. They were great. And we just completely took them apart.
Absolutely.
But that's what you felt. Carlos' first season, you felt if we've got a week, we're unbeatable. Yeah. That was genuinely the feeling, was like, I just trust him. Yeah. And that, I think it was that weird one. I've had this feeling as a couple of times as a Wednesday fan. I went to that home game thinking, we're not losing this. And it's a very strange feeling as a Wednesday fan because it doesn't happen very often. But I just felt from the first moment of that, 100%, we're going to win this.
We're going to win this, yeah.
And so that was one of my favourites.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's a real standout, isn't it? That was a tremendous evening.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of older fans, that's when we're talking about Hillsborough of old and Wednesday of old and all things like that. It's probably closest we've got to experiencing what Hillsborough can be like, really.
And was Johnny there?
I feel like Johnny was there, yeah.
I think that was one of his...
Yes, that was one of his ones he came.
Brought his good luck chance, which is probably added to your feeling that we knew we would win.
And I think after that we said, are you coming to the final? And he didn't come to the final.
He wasn't able to. Because the tickets were like gold dust.
Yeah, but I do remember there being a big scramble for us to be like, can he come? Is there a way for us to get in there?
A little lucky charm.
Yeah, so, hopefully we never have to be in the playoffs again and we just always get automatic.
Yes.
But if we don't, if we could, as a group of fans, manage to get Johnny there.
He'll bring us his good juju.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, so in addition to any others in addition to the...
Yeah, so the Brighton, after that, it has to be Arsenal FA Cup game. Again, all of my memories are going to be very recent and mainly of one season. But yes, Arsenal FA Cup, hanging out with the big boys, and we did it well. And they didn't want to let any part of being there, Arsenal. No. They hated every second of that, and rightfully so. Just felt, again, we'd had a good time to build up to it, and it was, funnily enough, in our season, probably a negative turning point because we showed everything we could do. Yeah. It was the perfect Carlos performance. Yeah. And then teams that seemed to be like, well, if we stop them doing this, how are they going to react to it? And we did adapt eventually, but it took us a little while. It did take the wind out of our sails in that season. Yeah. For a couple of games, months.
Well, I think that was one of those periods because we went several times under Carlos. I think we went 8 games without winning a game. That seemed to be like a kind of, I don't know, in people's heads that was like now you get sacked if it's 8 games. But that was, I think the first one of those was after that because there was real pressure on his position, I think.
And then that shows you how good we were, though. Yeah. If we can go 8 games without a win and still make the playoffs, how good were we the other games? That's the thing.
Definitely.
That game was just, like you say, just fantastic. It was great to see Sam Hutchinson score.
Yes.
Being a Chelsea kid and all of that. So, no, it was great. And it was that feeling we were saying, you're not completely negative about Moore and our team going into next season. you felt that we shouldn't have been with, after Wembley, we should have stepped on, we should have been Brighton.
Yeah.
But obviously, some very greedy players had some say in that and, took some of the goodwill out of the club and the good feelings and, issues started in the dressing room. But again, we made the playoffs that season.
We did.
So, that was fantastic. And then my final top game, and it is obviously the top game, has to be Cardiff. Wembley, not Cardiff, the playoff final in Cardiff.
Millennium Stadium,
just everything. I love the playoff final being there.
Yes.
There's something, for anybody that's not been to the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff, there's something really special about the fact it's just in the city centre.
That's the difference, isn't it? Because Wembley's in the middle of nowhere, really.
Yeah. And we had 40-odd thousand.
Yeah.
There, plus whoever snuck in the Hartlepool fans like myself. And just to drive down, I seemed to just see Wednesday fans everywhere. It's blue and white flags everywhere.
Well, it helps Hartlepool coming from the same direction, really, and wearing blue and white. So you could just assume everybody was Wednesday. So there'd be a few Hartlepool ones mixed in, but they look the same, and they're coming from the same place.
And there wasn't any negative rivalry between the clubs, so it was just a lovely day. I remember stayed where you were living in Swansea, and then going in and saying bye to you and being like, I don't know how this is going to go. And my experience because we went through a little stage where we didn't see us lose when we were sitting in the home fans at away games.
Yes.
I don't know if Aston Villa was the one that cursed that, but
probably, yeah.
We went quite a few seasons, and it's loads easier to be a happy fan trying to hide your excitement than it is being a very sad fan.
Yeah.
And there was a moment in that game where we were losing and it was getting very close to us losing this and me sitting in the fans that are going to be celebrating and what do you do? It's
really rolling the dice, isn't it, being in the opposite end.
But thankfully, as we talked about, Steve McLean scored, and then Glenn Whelan and Drew Tolbert, and we got to all celebrate. And I remember because I was actually only, I think maybe 14, 15.
Yeah.
So I got a big flag, a big blue and white flag at the end of the game. And I remember sitting out and in the traffic jam that came out of Cardiff, because we'd driven down there. I remember waving that when Hi Ho Silver Liner was being played by all of the cars in the traffic jam. And the players getting out of the bus and all of that. It was just, it was a great day. But that was one of the other times I felt, on that drive down, I just didn't ever contemplate the fact that we might lose that game. It was just like, well, we're going to win this.
Yeah.
Of course we are. Look at how many fans we are. We're going to win this. They're my top 3 game memories.
Lovely. I'm wondering if we definitely, before the Villa game, we had the Man City being in the home end when the home fans are bored of scoring because they've got
stupid bell every time they scored as well. 8 times we had to hear that bell. And I'd bumped into people I knew that were City fans as well before we'd gone in that stand. I was like, oh, they know I'm sitting in this home stand and we're losing so terribly.
And the one and the one we decided not to go to was the one that we did a lot better.
It was only 2-1, wasn't it?
Great. Well, to sort of round things up, I'm wondering if there's any kind of... So we've done goals, we've done games. Any kind of memories outside of those things? Just being a fan or watching games? Yeah.
So we've already mentioned the first game at Wrexham and how good that was. And I remember there was one other that season where we went to Stockport away. And I don't know if this is true, but the memory I've always kept of that game is that by the end of it, we were pretty much the only people sat in the Stockport end because they'd given us the long side. They'd given us half their stadium, hadn't they?
Yeah.
And we were with one of your uni friends that was a Stockport fan. And I just remember very angry.
Yeah.
And then every time we scored them, it was 3-0 or something like that. Them making a run for the Wednesday fans and then never returning.
Yes, yeah.
So that was one of them. That was one of my very early games. A couple of my memories actually are with you and Luke.
Okay, nice.
So Luke came to the Tranmere away game.
Oh yeah.
And that was a great game anyway. And I remember going and I just like got a new phone and all of this. Nice. And I was so excited because I was at uni in Liverpool.
Yeah.
So it was a local one for me. So I just popped over.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember that. And my standout memory was we had Ryan Lowe playing for us at the time, who obviously is from that area. And I think Tranmere was like the only club in that area he hadn't played for.
Yeah.
And I just remember him getting, like, we were singing Ryan Lowe's song, which again was another great song. And they were really, really trying to wind him up. And I've never seen such warming up as Ryan Lowe. And it was hilarious because he was you could just tell he was absolutely loving the hatred. And then he came on and scored. And it was just, it was insane. The reaction was insane. So that was one of my favourite memories.
Good stuff.
And then another one of my memories was, and I don't know why we'd got this.
Okay.
We ended up doing a quiz before the game in Hillsborough. I didn't know if it was a birthday or we'd won a prize.
I think it was a birthday. I think you got like tour and a meal maybe or something like that.
Yeah, and I wasn't there for the tour. I think you and Luke had done the tour.
Okay.
And then I'd come afterwards, and it was you had a sit down and there was like food and stuff, and then there was a quiz, and I don't know why, but we ended up doing that a couple of times because we knew what the tiebreaker question was. So we'd done quite well as a team, and we'd got to the tiebreaker, and when it came to the tiebreaker, it was like the question was always like, how many CCTV cameras are there at Hillsborough or something like that, and Luke knew it. He'd already had it. He was like, we've heard this question before, we know the answer. But that was all very fun, and I remember doing that. But my main memory of that was Lee Bullen was there.
Yes.
And I didn't know I was going to fangirl so hard. I couldn't talk to him.
No.
You guys got a photo with him, and you were like, do you want to get a photo with him? And I was in my 20s at this stage, and I'm like, no, just giggling away. I couldn't speak to him. I thought, that's an insane reaction to have to somebody that most people do not know who he is. But I took a photo of you and Luke.
Yeah. Oh, lovely stuff.
But yeah, so I really enjoyed that. But it was great seasons. We had, although the football wasn't always great with when Luke was a season ticket holder.
Yes.
It was always fun. My standout memory, obviously, a bit more negative, has to be Wembley as well. Yeah. But again, I weirdly feel like, I don't know what it is about maybe just being with that many Wednesdayites. This air of just like, we're going to do, surely we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Like, the footballing world wanted us to do it. Nobody wanted Hull to go up again. And it was being outside the hotel and chanting, and that, it just felt so special.
Yeah.
It was such a lovely day. I only ruined by the fact that I spilled soy sauce down my Wednesday shirt on the white bit as well at Wagamama's before we went in. And then obviously, some of our big players just didn't turn up for that game.
Yeah, it was a strange game.
Really, really strange. So close, but just the fans were just fantastic again. It really was special. And then that moment afterwards, where we lost, but we were still singing.
We were still there. Yeah. We were still singing.
I think Hull had probably left. They probably left the stadium before us, and we were still singing, and that was great. And that's the big shame, I think, is that we don't have a song for more, really. Yeah. Because that was just a song. As a fan base, we all got behind that Carla song because it was a great song, and even when times weren't great in games, that was on. Everybody knew you could just sing it, and you could keep going. A little bit like Gregory's song now.
I remember there was a journalist for The Guardian said that our Carlos song was, I think he said it was like the most tactically astute chant since Pass and Move the Liverpool Groove.
Yeah. It just brutally is. Like, Wednesday fans were great at the gallows humour, and just the fact that there was a line in there that said we had no money, so we had to sign him on loan.
I wonder if Chancery just gets really annoyed that he's like, I was giving you loads of money.
Yeah, I spent so much money. Where do you think all these contracts came from?
Exactly. That's hard-won tuna money. Come on.
Yeah. But no, that was great. And, you know, there's a sliding doors moment, isn't there, with Bruce coming to Wednesday because of our after Wembley, and he stays, and who knows what would have happened then. But yeah, that for me was a standout. But I never want to repeat it. I don't want to go back. I don't care if we never play a final in Wembley. I would say I don't care if we never play in Wembley again. But I would like to make some cup finals at some point in my life. Yeah. But really, I don't care if we never play in Wembley again. As long as we get just some promotion.
Yeah, it's much nicer just going straight up.
Yeah, because as lovely as that day was, and as great it is, and great to be at Wembley and all of that, I hate the playoffs.
Well, that's it. People give me absolutely. I've said this. I've said as much on the podcast before, but yeah, it's. I've heard people say, "Oh, you know, I'd rather win the playoffs than finish second because you get a trophy." Stuff the trophy. Yeah, just sail. Start your summer on time. Make your signings. Know that you're up. Don't have the stress. Don't have the awful, you know, the possibility of it all falling apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Give me second every single time.
I think for fans that say that, would you have wanted the playoffs over beating the Piggywigs to second in that promotion series?
Absolutely.
Of course you wouldn't, because it was great. It was great. But I love that. Imagine celebrating, going up, knowing you're going up. That's a great feeling.
It was great.
Yeah. That was the thing this season. I think I turned to you in the last home game, and I was like, I've got a knot in my stomach now because I know we've got to do the playoffs. Yeah. I hate them.
Yeah, definitely.
They're just torture. They're fun for everybody that's not involved in them.
They're fun. They're successful in making some extra money, but they're a painful experience to go through as a team player fan. Yeah, it's
like when people always used to people say that Championship's the best league in the world. It's like, yeah, not if you're in it. It's horrible. But I would love to be back in it, obviously. But yeah, that thing of like, I suppose last year League One was like the Championship, wasn't it? It was insane standard.
It was. It had that same
everybody can beat everybody. And, I don't want that. I want predictable.
You want a maximum of 3 good teams.
Us to hopefully be
2.
One of them.
Yeah, hopefully 2, and then nobody misses out. No good team misses out. And then everybody else be shades of rubbish. Yeah, that would be good.
Definitely. I've just noticed one note I've put on here that I haven't said before.
Okay.
And I feel like I can't go a whole thing with talking about the best goals, the best team and all this, without mentioning that sometimes Adam Reach did some good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Richinho.
Yeah. He sometimes did good stuff.
He did.
Yeah.
He really did.
I think he was really held back by the fact that he wasn't Chris Brunt. So the fact he couldn't single-handedly grab us by the scruff of the neck and save us really was the beat.
That was his real weakness.
Yeah, that was it. You're not Antonio, you're not Chris Brunt.
Yeah.
You're just Adam Reach.
Yeah.
Which is a very good footballer, but you're not the saviour of Wednesday.
You're a mere mortal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. No, I think that's worth it. An honourable mention for Adam Reach.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
There we go.
Thank you so much. That's been really fun.
A short history of my Wednesday experience. Not that short.
Susie Miller's Wednesday life. Yeah, well, thank you very much.
No, thank you for asking me.
Wow, Rich, thank you for spending the time, and also thank you very, very much to Suze for giving her time to chat about her Wednesday experiences. And yeah, I that was fantastic. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, nice of her to. She's a busy gal. Nice of her to break into her schedule of shaping young minds to do a battle of wills with an increasingly aging mind in mind. Just really rounding the corner of 40 so hard. Yeah, No, it's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so go on.
So, Rich, what was your favorite bit from chatting to Suz?
I mean, I enjoyed the whole thing. Actually, I think we were. It's funny. I think this is often the case, but we were sort of at the start of it. We're like, if it's only 15 minutes, that's fine. But obviously, as folks will now be able to attest to personally, we well and truly sailed past doing 15 minutes. So I think once we got going, it was just a really pleasant conversation to have, and so I enjoyed the whole thing. I think the most particular thing was just sort of seeing which bits had stood out to her through the years, because we shared most of our Wednesday memories, but obviously on a personal level, we cling on to different things and attach to different players and things like that. So I liked working through her Wednesday 11. She cheated a bit more than your dad in that she named lots of alternates, and she ended up with about 3 people for every position. But,
well, that's good, because I like that. I mean, I loved the one I listened to, chatting to my dad, but I kind of wanted a bit more of. I like the subs bench bringing in. So yeah. I'm glad she's got some. She's got some pinch hitters on the bench.
Yes.
Was there anything to you that was like really illuminating, or anything surprising? I'd say.
I think one thing I'd completely forgotten is the just towards the end, she sort of shared the memory of, I think you or I had won a prize where it was our birthday, or because we'd had a birthday in the summer, we were invited to come to like a game early and have a tour around the stadium.
Yeah,
and,
I remember
and
that.
have a dinner in the lounge. And we actually won the quiz. We won a prize for the quiz, and that meant we were able to interact with the great Lee Bullen. But I'd completely forgotten how much Suz just completely clammed up. She idolizes Lee Bullen, and so yeah, I'd sort of completely forgotten that. How affected she was by that moment, and the fact that because you and I ended up having a picture with Lee, and she just could not face it.
Oh wow,
it was too much. And so I don't really.
That's really interesting, because I remember very sheepishly having a picture with Lee Bullen.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I didn't remember that was because we were good at the quizzes. That was the reason.
Well, Suz has this like. I don't know whether it's photographic memory, but she holds on to a ridiculous level of detail often. And so she even remembered that folks will have heard the story. But she even remembered that apparently, I think you'd done the quiz previously and they used the same tie break. So you knew exactly it was how many CCTV cameras there were around Hillsborough, and you knew exactly what the answer was.
Well, because that was the second time we did it, right? Because
I think so.
Well, no, we did it. We did it one time, and then it was like they did. I think like Football Focus were in.
Maybe that's
it. Hillsborough to do some filming, so they're like, "Sorry, lads, we can't.
Yes,
we can't take you round fully, so we'll let you come back and do it again." So that was that.
Right.
Interesting.
Yes, that makes sense.
Wow. Okay. I'm especially looking forward to listen to that bit. Good. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I also enjoyed talking about in a bit more detail about, because we had an interesting experience at Cardiff when in the playoff final, because I wasn't able to. I was working that day at hosting an event, and Suz ended up in the away fans. So it was just interesting talking through that day in more detail, and her sort of how it was for her, and some of the specific moments of the day, how the fans that she was with, the Hartlepool fans that she was with, were reacting as well.
That's very funny.
So yeah, no, it was a real treat. And as you said last week, really nice to have an avenue to have those conversations and keep them sort of stored for posterity as well.
Exactly. Well, thank you. Good. Thank you again to Suz, and thank you to yourself for making it happen, Rich.
Yeah, no, it's a treat. And thanks, folks, for listening.
Also, I'm wondering if it's time for us to make an announcement, Rich.
I think it is. Do you want to lead off, or shall I do this?
Oh wow, this is going to be hard. So folks, this is episode 149. We won't be back next week because we're going to take a break. Rich and I are going to be doing. We're going to be having some fun time. We're going to be Rich and I, hopefully, if nothing tragedy besets us, but we will be traveling through and doing a road trip through the States. We're going to take a break next week. We will come back either the week after or the following week after for episode 150, which will be the last episode of Different Gravy.
Yeah.
We'll get into more of why, but we think it's about time to cap off doing the podcast. And what a brilliant and fantastic milestone that we've got to. I mean, we got to over 50,000 downloads, which we were absolutely stoked with. And to be doing this and get to such a milestone is fantastic. And yeah, I personally think it's, I think I'm a fan of, if this were to end, I would rather like to have a goodbye to people to say thank you and kind of come back and we'll do some special things. So we'll probably put this out on the Twitter as well, but we just want to say if anybody has any final remarks, memories, or questions for us, please reach out to us at differentgravypod@gmail.com. You can also give us a mention or send us a DM on the Twitters. We do open our DMs because we're a bunch of slutty gravy boys, aren't we, Rich?
Well, as we touched on, exactly. Yeah, we've got that social media presence. We're not fools. But yeah, I think that probably the format is going to be probably fairly loose for that last episode. But by and large, the idea is kind of we'll maybe kind of interview each other in a fairly similar way to the previous couple of weeks. But also, yeah, if you have any questions, we'll take those too. It would be really nice.
And hopefully recapping and covering some signings. We've been a bit dry on the old newsy woos. But
yeah, you'd think doing a look to the future episode sort of 3 weeks in advance, you might be kind of courting, looking really out of time and a bit silly. But turns out Wednesday have done absolutely naff all of at least in public so far. So it's all so far so good. But hopefully, yeah, by the time we talk again, there'll be something to talk about, tangible. Is it worth? I just thought I'd give out the Twitter handle in case folks don't have that hand, which is gravy_pod. So and the email is differentgravypod. Is that right? Oh no, I'm doubting myself now. Yes, differentgravypod@gmail.com. But yeah, it'd be lovely to hear from you. And yeah, it's with heavy hearts, but as I say, we'll talk a bit more detail about things. But it's been an absolute pleasure, and we continue to be amazed that anybody takes the time to listen. So thank you so much for your time, and hopefully this last little lap of things is an enjoyable one as well for everyone involved. All right, so see you folks soon.
See you, everybody. Bye-bye.